sometimes insurance is a pain.
Right, it's good.
I called them 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Okay, here's what's going on. I got a request saying I need to call you to send in this paper telling what the, how Mindy got injured. In fact, I know you only told me 3 days. So, anyway. Hey, you're missing your red string. Because I remember I thought, oh good, Brett can take you for one of them.
I'm currently trying to.
Okay.
No one's on yet.
I do have to laugh in some ways. Everywhere else is like, we're realizing how much we ate out, on YouTube and everything. We're realizing how often we ate out, and etc., etc. And because, geez, we're cooking non-stop now. We just get done cooking and it's time to cook again. And yet at the same time, here in Utah, they're like, stay safe, stay home, but order from our local restaurants. So hopefully things will return. Well, as a lot of people said, I don't think things will fully return to normal, but will normalize. There will be a new normal. We will understand a bit more about things that can happen, etc. Hopefully wearing masks will be more accepted when you're sick, or things like that will be more accepted and maybe even encouraged. And not just when you're sick, but in general. If you aren't sick, being able to wear them. If you maybe are at higher risk of becoming sick. If you are sick or have any signs of being sick, it'll be normalized, and people will be more willing to. And then I know in Japan they also do it just for if you have allergies or stuff. So hopefully we'll have more of a commitment to that, more of an realization of how easily things can spread and whatever. On top of that, some people on top of that, yes, a ton of people have gotten better, but people have lost their lives. Those who have lost their lives will have, their life won't ever be what it was before. They will have a new normal without those people in their lives. So there's that. So saying it'll return to normal, some of those people feel that it's forgetting about those the pain they're going through, etc. But they also understand they do want things to kind of normalize to a new normal, but not the extreme it is right now. To have the extreme not be the normal. Yeah. So today is a day of fasting and prayer. Hi, Steph. And one thing I realized today, which is I've never realized before, so let me clarify a few things. In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you fast monthly. However, they say if you have a reason, a health reason, or different things like that, usually health reasons, you don't fast. You prepare your food with a wholeness of heart. And I always when I was a teenager, is when I started having the symptoms of hypoglycemia. And we realized I couldn't fast. And so and then, sometimes not only did I have that, but I also had, on top of the hypoglycemia, at times I was pregnant or breastfeeding or different things like that throughout my life. And so I really have not fasted and then once we got things solved, we didn't know for sure if I could fast or not. We had to wait till things stabilized. And then I've tried to get back to realize, but before that happened, or about that time, somewhere around there, my husband got diabetes, and so trying to remember to fast on Fast Sunday, because it takes that day, was something I have off and on in the past half a year to a year fasted. And I did 2 weeks ago. But it didn't dawn on me, I think partway because it was Sunday, and okay, you're doing things, or you slow down. One thing I realized about fasting is that in the past when I fasted, I would either sleep, or I'd be able to sleep, or because I'd be exhausted, which is normal for me. It's still some of the signs of the hypoglycemia, stuff like that. I'm at a point I can now. It's not necessarily easy because it does deplete my body, maybe a bit more than other people, which my sister-in-law threw a fit about, that this is the worst thing you can do at this time, because that's going to reduce your immune system, and that's the worst thing we need right now, etc., etc. But that's another story. Anyway, what I did realize, and I'm actually very grateful for this fast, is that if part of the idea of fasting is teaching you to keep a prayer in your heart all the time, because, and part of it was this fast, just the way I've been doing it today, and sometimes it takes you can read the same passage of scripture 1,000 times, and 1,001 you may hear something, read the same passage, but register something different. And in this case, I really believe that's part of what happened, because like I said, I fasted before and haven't understood this concept. So the concept I realized is that fasting is part of learning to keep a prayer in your heart at all times. So the reason I thought that is, it was like, when you feel hunger and you're fasting, that's when you register that, that's when you should be even more so saying either a quick or a longer prayer in your heart if you need to, if you're driving around, or if you're where you can stop and actually say a prayer, etc. And that idea, that discomfort actually brings to mind why you're doing what you're doing and making the choices you are, and then from there you it can bring even more importance to the fast as you do that. And which I kind of, I've done that in the past, but the feeling hasn't been there as much as it has been today. And it may be because in the past it's only once a month, and this is the second time in a month, and so my reserves are not built up as much. I've got extra fat, but where we know my body has trouble digesting fats, and has trouble with some other things, we also know that there's the EDS in and of itself. Generally, people with that have a harder time losing weight. And so when you take that into account, and a little while ago I had thought I'd try the intermittent fasting. I now realize, and I can't remember when I stopped trying that, but I was like, during this, I can't be doing that. So, because I couldn't plan things right to be able to do it with everything else going on and everything. So, I don't know how much that depleted also. But it was interesting. But between it all, my body obviously does not use the fat it's stored any better than it uses the fat that I eat directly. Not that surprising, but okay. So when I take that into account, obviously, if it's doing that, I'm going to feel it more so than maybe other people. And especially if I do it too often, I'm going to feel it more than I would. So that's been an interesting observation that I have learned from doing this. And just thought I'd share. I totally get the being hypoglycemic stuff and having to eat. Like I said, I've been I spent most of my life having signs of hypoglycemia, and it's only literally just recently that it's even been an option because of how bad I was with it. I would have to get within an hour, if I didn't eat, I would be back at fasting blood sugar, or within let's see. So when they did the test, they did the 3-hour GTT on me. I had, within an hour, I was back. Obviously, if I got protein and stuff, I would last longer. But generally, I would need to eat every 3 hours to not be at complete fasting levels. And I'd have to have the protein. Eating something without protein was an absolute no-go for me because of that. So I totally get hypoglycemia. That was something an observation that I had noticed that I've never noticed before. So I thought I'd share it. At the same time, I also have noticed that because of the way I've done things in the past, I'm really not stopping to say a prayer any more often than I normally would. Whether in my heart or while I'm driving, which I think is good. It just was an interesting observation that maybe I can share with my Sunday school class when we get back in, or that I could share on the stream with you guys and whatever. Because honestly, I try to keep a prayer in my heart at all times anyway, for various things. Whether it's just thanks or etc. This one kind of more obviously, in a way, specific focused prayers rather than just general about what's going on right then. Okay, that did not. But it is a interesting way to think about it and to realize why we would be asked to fast. And why would that be so important for a person? And I don't believe it has to do, so there have been some studies that have shown that fasting is good for your health. But yeah, and that's honestly, that's where we've been asked, what Jesus Christ has asked us to do. In the Bible, it says, there's many times he talks about keeping a prayer in your heart at all times. And so, and I agree. I think this is just more a focused in a way. But it was an interesting observation to make, that especially knowing, and here's something that my husband brought up to me and I found very interesting. And what he said, and I knew this was happening, but I was hearing more and more about it. And even throughout today, as I've thought about it and everything. So on the Facebook page, there were a couple pages. Some people are like, or there's the event, and then there's a Facebook page and whatever else. Well, some people only joined one or the other, which is just fine. I'll be honest, I only joined the event, not the page. But my husband joined at least the page. I don't think he joined the event. And he was telling me that on the page there are a lot of people who are atheists, etc., who are saying, well, you know what? I don't believe, but I'll join you in fast and prayer. Or I don't believe, but my grandma or my mom or this family member can't fast, so I'm going to fast for them. And that was interesting to hear, and then you wonder how many of those people may be touched as they fast and feel something that they haven't felt before. I will say one thing about my sister-in-law is she used to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she's left. And so she feels it's all malarkey and a few things like that, and that's her choice. And the only thing important in life is, or the only way to make your life worthwhile is to do something important in life. And that's sad to me, because we can't all do something so major that we have a park named after us, or a etc., etc. But we can all live a Christ-like life. And so if you believe that the only thing that's important in this life is if you can, that's my feeling. But to each their own. I will say, but to me it's sad, because it's her view of life. Only a few people can live an important life, or a life worth living, or worth having lived. Because in her mind, it's not your kids, it's not the way you raise them up, it's literally, can you make such a difference to the world that your name will not be forgotten. Otherwise, you're just you're no better than literally, you're just another animal on this earth, is a way of putting it. That there is no reason for your life. Whereas, and so the whole focus of your life should be earning enough money that you can then leave behind enough money to important causes, etc., so that you will be remembered, or learning enough that you can leave behind some important thing in science or etc. And that's the only life's worth living. And so we need to so it becomes, in many ways, she's like, no, you have to live for others, your whole life for others, in order to, and it's like, you're saying you have to live your whole life for others in order to be remembered, and enough that you are then remembered. Not just by a few people, but by a large number of people. So that's being, really focusing on yourself. Whereas Christ would say, live your life for others in the small and simple things. Keep quiet when you do good, etc. Who cares what they think of you when you're dead, other than the fact that when you die, those that you did, that everyone you met will remember you lived a Christ-like life. That you made a difference to their lives, but not such that the world will know you made a difference. You made a difference in lives individually, and that's what's important. So you raised a family that knew that they loved and they cared for you. Or that you loved and cared for them, not they loved and cared for you. You helped people when maybe it wasn't easy for you to. Precisely. And it's that being kind every day, that you make a difference in someone's life. That's the living a Christ-like life. Is you walk in the grocery store and you see someone that can't find, or struggling to get their stuff out. You offer to help them. You see a mom who's just taken everything out of the cart, and now she has to get the cart back, and you tell her, hey, if I'll take your cart for you. Many times a mother with kids, that is a blessing, especially in today's day and age, because then they can put their kids in quickly and go, rather than have to take their kids over to the cart return and then take the kids back to the car and then get them hooked up. And especially if you've got rambunctious kids, that can be hard. Another way I saw that a lot of people think, well, how can you do something good every day with what's going on? Mary Fry, one of her recent videos, she was talking on the phone or somehow talking to her neighbor. Obviously, knowing her keeping social distancing completely. It may have been the 6 feet, kind of a talking over the fence. Who knows for sure what it was? But she knows how to do orders through Instacart. And her neighbor had no clue how to. And for whatever reason, rather than say, okay, well, here's how, you just go on and you do this and whatever, she said, you know what? Rather than even doing that and having her go on and do it herself, she could have quickly answered, well, you just download the Instacart app or whatever. She instead said, you know what? Tell me what you need and I'll add it to our order. You can pay me back and we'll have my husband bring over your stuff to you and leave it on your porch or something like that. I think that's what they did, was they just left it on the porch. But for her, as she said, she can't go shopping for people. She can't. There's a lot of things she can't do. But you know what? She can click add to cart. And so they literally, she placed this order. From what I understand, the lady paid them for everything, whatever else. So it's not like they were giving away money giving things away or whatever. And it was just a couple more seconds of her time to add this lady's stuff to her order, and then of their time to separate out the lady's stuff from what they got delivered and run it over to them. But I'm sure that meant a lot to that lady. That lady will remember that they did that. And honestly, so many times I've heard this over and over and over and over, and so many people have, and I know many people still say, but that's a bunch of baloney. And that's smiling at people. Just smiling at people. But honestly, it is true. Even more so now than ever before. My Lexi, who gets on here off and on, she works at a essentials business. She works at a Dollar Tree. It's been deemed essential, and I actually can see how it is. I've talked about that before, because that's where some people only go to places like that for what they need. So Lexi goes throughout the day trying to enforce these, she's wearing a mask, trying to protect herself, whatever else, and she gets people coming in yelling at her constantly. And I would say, from what she said, it's about once a week someone throws something at her because she's trying to enforce the limits. And they've even got to the point now where they've just told her, if that starts happening, you leave. You walk away, go into the back room, and we'll take care of it. So at least they've got her protected, but you can imagine after a situation like that, what it means to her to have someone come through her line and just smile at her. If nothing else, smile at her. So that, to me, it, kind of shows the difference that just a smile can make. And so another thing, people online are from rest homes and retirement homes. I'm getting people from some of those or in some of our local groups, people from those areas are coming on saying, please help. We are so lonely. We aren't really hearing, especially some of them, not every one of them has family. And even if they do, not all of their family may be in jobs that are considered essential, and so they aren't able to contact their family member daily. But many of those have shut it down to where literally they can't leave their apartment or their room, depending on what type of area it is. But so some of them, their apartment is just them and their husband or wife. Many times, though, these people are being shut down into areas with no one else. They literally have no one to talk to other than the staff when the staff can get by. And that can be very hard for someone. I mean, period. It's hard for someone if they don't have that social interaction. And on top of that, it's not necessarily just people in rest or retirement homes. Curiosity Inc. was actually talking about this just recently on their live video. They've been worried about his mom and her dad, and they almost had them come live with them during this time. His mom, I don't know what they're going to do there. She's still on her own, but they did talk about be sure and call at least once a day people that you know who don't have anyone, that aren't living with anyone. These people are lonely. They may be used to it. Like his mom has lived on her own for years, and her dad had too. But there's another reason for them saying call. But not everyone knows how to use. Some people understand how to use the internet and social media, and they have things to do. Some of them don't. And so they're having troubles. And honestly, I will say, it may not at my parents' house all the time, which is where my brother lives, that we often call Jade's house. It is actually where my brother, and they may be struggling with that. So consider those people that maybe you would contact on a regular basis, and contact them. See how they're doing. Check in with them. And I bring that up, and even not just them. My sister is going, but she has brought up that she's pulling out her hairs because of what's going on, because of everything that's going on with this. And so trying to figure out if there's ways you can help those people can also be beneficial. Can be something nice you can. Is that especially those who live alone. Her father, 4 days before he died, had called the hallucinate or lose his memory or something like that because of how low his oxygen level was. And so that's another reason for checking on those who are home alone in interaction. And during this, we're kind of prevented from that human interaction. And so finding ways that you can help people still have human interaction while all of this is going on can be beneficial too. Seeing what you can do. That's a cool way to do it too. And checking to find out if, check with rest and retirement homes and things like that. I know we've checked with ours, the one where we actually do PT at. And right now they're doing good. They actually play room bingo where they all just go to their doors and play bingo. They're doing things like that right now, but they have said that in the future they may want to, and they've got everyone set up with their families to where they talk to them every day or two over the internet, etc. But they said that in the future they may appreciate having someone else to talk to too. So they've got us on that, they know that we're offering that. I do know other places, literally, they want as much they want letters sent, they want et cetera. So, because some of them don't have as much interaction. So, contact your local place. I know Ohio Fish Rescue, which is another YouTube channel, he's pulling out hairs because he has no way to contact his wife because right now she's in a nursing home because of some things that happened. But they can't go visit her, obviously. But on top of that, not only can they not go visit her, because she's currently in a coma, and that's the problem, is she's in a coma, they are not letting him calling him and putting the phone by her so he can talk to her, etc. She literally has no family contact right now because she's in a coma. And that's killing him, and they don't it is hard for him, and I know that the workers are overwhelmed right now because they don't have outside help, but at the same time, I will say that one of the that sometimes some of those things are being forgotten too. So, see if my sister-in-law and nieces will look over. Nope. Oh well. Which actually, along those lines, also brings up another thought. Another thing is check with your local healthcare workers. Especially if you know anyone personally, find out if there's anything you can do to help them. My sister-in-law says because of the hours she has, they've actually reduced even more her usual hours. And partway because of her family and everything. And so there's that, but some of them aren't able to go see their families because of all this. And others are freaking out on how they can make sure that that they don't end up delivering this to giving their families this. So those are things to think about. On being able to to live the way Christ would live. So what brought it up is when you do those things, you aren't going to necessarily you probably aren't going to end up with a park named in your honor or a plaque put up to remember you. And that's something too, is check with your friends. Not everyone who even is healthy feels safe leaving the house. Honestly, every time Brett goes shopping, I'm biting my tongue. Because he, one, is only starting to accept how dangerous this could be. And starting to understand why we need the social distancing and everything else. And starting to get frustrated with Caden for not listening. But he still takes the kids in with him when he goes, etc. So, every time I have him go shopping, it's scary for me. And there's people like Mary Fry. What they're having to do is they literally are paying Instacart money to be able to get their necessary groceries. Now, okay, they have the money to be able to do that. I totally admit it. But it may also, I'm sure they would appreciate it if every so often someone were to say, hey, you know what? Let me know when you need groceries next, what you need, and I'll go get it for you. So, there's that. On the masks thing, did you ever get with the person you know and find out if the missionaries need masks? And if so, if they do you need me to get you any money for supplies to be able to make them some? Okay, that works. I just thought I'd check. So, I am going to let you go because I'm home. And I'm going to end up calling insurance and fighting with them. But I will talk to you later. Bye.